Thank you. Thank you for your invitation. I'm happy to speak here. It won't be as funny as the last presentation, but maybe a little bit less depressing. I will also refer to what we heard yesterday and today, and to make it more lively. We looked at this yesterday already. The figure on the right. We already surpassed the 1.5 degree limit. We're at the moment at 1.55 degrees. And that's reality, 1.55. So we already surpassed the magic limit of 1.5. For us in Austria, this means 2.9 degrees. We are affected even more than the average. 2.9 degrees. Imagine that. We have a temperature of 36 degrees usually, and if you're talking about 2.9 degrees, we would have a fever. So this means a lot of pressure. These are bad news. We have to do something, and we have to be fast. We have to protect the climate, rescue the climate, and biodiversity. So we heard a lot about that yesterday. We had the Potsdam presentation about the rise of the sea level. I have a different slide here. We need consequent climate protection. There is no alternative. We have to do this now. Anything else will not happen. We have to transform. Can green finance save the climate is the question, but it has to save the climate, and also the politicians and the economy. Everybody has to protect and save the climate, and therefore we need transformation. The key questions are, can we succeed? Is it possible? Can we actually do it globally? And the second question is, how do we finance it? How do we fund it? So I can't see the slide where we actually saw the border of Germany. How the coast border of Germany would look like in 100, 200 years. The Hamburg and other coastal cities will be gone. And that is a development that will happen. That's reality if we don't change anything, if we keep going as we're going right now. We talked about this a lot yesterday, about the question of security. Migration is at the top of everybody's interest. But if you look at stuff like that, what is the biggest question of security? It is climate change. If you're thinking about standards, this is the biggest question. If we want to keep our standards, we have to protect the climate. So it's not about, do we want to protect the climate? We have to protect the climate. So if you look at this here, you see many different scenarios. The challenge obviously is extreme, but the question is, can society and economy change in this way? So when we look at the temperature graphic here, we need a downwards trend. We heard about it yesterday with the melting of the ice shields, and those are processes that we can't turn back really. So there's also one slide missing here. I had to reduce my slides to 6, and the slides I was actually expecting are not there. I wanted to show you the greenhouse gas emissions of Austria. This is very interesting because the greenhouse gas emissions from 1990 to 2020 were very stable. They didn't move. And ever since 2020, it's going down. As on the left, the line shows. So the greenhouse gas emissions went down by 15% in the last 5 years. Nobody would have thought that would be possible. that 15% downwards trend in just 3 years. Nobody would have believed that if you would have said it before. What happened? There was a fossil price shock. And this was the economic framework for people to reorient households, but also companies. And we were started to think about our energy consumption. And the second aspect, we had the right technologies and the measures. We know exactly what we need to do. Sigrid Stagel talked about it yesterday. We have the knowledge. We know about the systems. We know about the technologies. We know how they work. We know what measures we have to carry out. And that's great. It's a fantastic achievement. And this means we can mobilize a lot, we can do a lot. And in Austria in the last 3 years, we are on the right path in order to reduce emissions by 90% by 2040. But can we actually go through with this? But the positive result of this is climate protection can work. So we know how to do it. How do we finance this? Of course, money is a big question, and the question is also how much would it cost? We did a study on this with the social partners, the Chamber of Commerce and the Labor Chamber. What are we talking about, and how much money are we talking about? There is a general model I don't want to talk about. There's a macroeconomic model which was introduced a few years ago. It's not enough to only talk about the environment and emission. We have to connect it to the markets, to the companies, to the households. Because if we don't, we can publish the best study, but nobody will regard it as important. We have to think about the economy. So these are the results for us, Austria. I won't mention the details. We looked at the industry and the energy sector with the whole grid and so on. We looked at traffic and buildings. We looked at the private sector, at the public sector. I just want to mention the last line on the right. In these 4 sectors from 2024 to 2040, we have trillions of euros we need to invest. So that's what we have to invest, streets, buildings, and so on, for all industrial companies in Austria. And on the right side, you see what the additional necessary investment would be in order to decarbonize until 2040. So it would be 100 to 180 billion in 80 years. So we're talking about 1.5 to 2.5%. So that's doable. We heard it a lot yesterday. Look at what Austria is investing in fossil fuels. 7.8 billion, 9.8 billion to buy oil. So we're paying around 15 billion euros per year to buy energy. So that's just the money we pay for purchasing energy. So if you're looking at this and you're at 2024 to 2040, 300 billion euros to invest in order to not have to purchase energy. And we need 180 billion to carry out this transformation. And then we'll get 100% of energy from renewable energy sources. That is also doable for us. efficiencies are increasing. So up to 90% of energy we can cover from our own production. For example, wind turbines. We have regions where there is not even one wind turbine, which is just absurd. So if we're talking about the future, we're talking about the factor 23 when it comes to hydro plants. Photovoltaics is also a big topic in Austria. We know how this could work in the future. We don't have to invest 17 billion euros to foreign countries. So I can see I have to conclude now. I'm not going to talk about the first few points. I just want to mention the last one. We looked at the economy. What about the employment, household incomes, and in a transformation scenario, these values are a lot better than in a scenario without climate protection. We looked at household incomes in a climate protection scenario. More money is available in the households because the prices would be less and the income higher. Prices as energy and for buildings, because the systems would be more efficient. And this is the most exciting part. We have to have a positive model for the future, change the systems and the financing towards this future. But we don't have this image of the future yet. The people out there don't know about it. The politicians don't know. And I think that is what we need. We as an environment agency have to do this. We have to develop an image where people look at it and say, that's where I want to go. That's my goal. And then the households will be part of it and the investors will jump into it. And that is what I think is important, that we as environment agency will be working on in the next few years, to have this positive image of the future for the people, for the politicians, and of course for the investors who are very important for this transition. Thank you so much for your attention.